You have to be completely serious for to I guess to understand the phenomenon of modern art. Modern art, it's a strange thing because it's all based just on subjective interpretation, of course. But where that subjective interpretation comes down to hard dollars and cents is what baffles me. It's something I don't get. Let me just move some stuff over here and try to adjust this mic a little bit. So, I want to get down to cases with Mark Rothko. Mark Rothko being a modern artist, and in as you would, you know, as you would label him, as you would classify Mark Rothko, he seems to be this guy who does these solid color things. It's almost like you could take a paintbrush on a roller or something and dip it into something if you wanted to. If you wanted to destroy the brush completely, you use oils because oil is considered like the most expensive of the medium of paint oils. So Mark Rothko, let's say he takes a canvas, a stretched canvas over a piece of wood, you know, like you do, a square. Let's call it a square, and then he dips his roller into a very expensive vat of oil paint, and then just brushes across the canvas and calls it something. He gives it a name, number 18 or something like that. Number 18, number 19. Maybe number 19 is number 18 with a black dot in the center. And maybe number 20 is a number 18 with the black dot in the center and then a black border around that. So it's like 3 paintings, and he'll like package it up. He'll put it in a nice frame because he better. And then, $86.9 million. That's it. $86.9 million. This makes news. This becomes news because it's such an insane amount of money to spend for a square with roller brushed red with a black dot and then a black border around that. It becomes news because of that. Because people will say, "My God, these rich assholes who have $86.9 million burning a hole in their pocket, and this is what they do with it. They buy this fine art that goes with the couch, ties the room together, whatever you want to say." So Mark Rothko goes to the bank with 86.9, or I don't know what his situation is. I don't know if he's still among the living, as it were, but I'm sure his relatives are, and his relatives are cutting each other's throats over that money, some percentage of it in some way. He's of our blood. Only we get to decide what happens to Mark Rothko's money. I just need to move this again. Hang on a sec here. Let me telescope this thing a little too high. So, the modern art world doesn't extend to merely to Mark Rothko. There are plenty of other people. Cy Twombly, or Twombly, I don't know. He has a goofy name. Oh no, I hate Cy Twombly. I want to tell you why. I posted this on my Facebook page because I had heard about it from some other place, so maybe another podcast or something, and I had to see this painting to believe it. It was like $40 million. $40 million in a failing economy, too, I might add. Recession numbers, lack of employment, lack of money coming in, money going out. $40.9 million recently. I mean, like Mark Rothko, the $86.9 million sale I did, that was about maybe 10 years ago, or it could have been 15 or 20 years ago for all I know. Because I've known about Mark Rothko for years. He's right up there with Jasper Johns and that kind of stuff. But Cy Twombly, the guy, he really doesn't, he's not particularly versatile. He seems to have one particular style and he just leaves it at that. But try to imagine you've got like an enormous canvas, of course. It's an enormous canvas. It's two big canvases, actually. Two big canvases. I want to say maybe about 9 feet across and 6 feet tall. Yeah, 6 feet in height and 9 feet in width. Two enormous canvases. One is more rectangular than the other one. The other one is more of a quasi-rectangle, but more of a square. But they're enormous. They're enormous. You're paying for the real estate, really, kind of. $40 million. Cy Twombly. And what it is it's, I guess, it's kind of like a flat beige or even like a dull muted yellow background canvas with red paint just liberally splattered and forming ovular loops going up and down, up and down, up and down, and then drips that sort of appear. That I found interesting. The drips. I think he painted this on an incline so that the drips would dry in a particular place, and they don't dry at the base of the painting itself. They dry maybe a few inches up from the base. Maybe about 6 inches. Yeah, 6 inches from the base are these drips that have congealed, and they've congealed this into this solid line. And I found that interesting. I don't know if it's interesting enough for $40 million. I don't know what the level of work or the level of thought that was put into it. I feel like people think they're important and say this is making some brash, bold statement, and you have to, it goes back to the title, you have to be completely serious about this. You cannot say, it's knock that off, right? Just horse shit, give me my money. No one's going to give you $40 million if you have that kind of attitude. They want you to believe that your work is serious because they need to believe it. They can't just hand over their $40 million to a goofball. But Cy Twombly, I posted the pictures of this, $40 million. $40 million. I posted pictures of this, of his work, and everybody was surprised. Everybody was shocked. Everybody was horrified. Surprised that someone would relieve themselves of $40 million out of their pocket, sign a check or whatever. Shocked because the work did not seem as though it was done by anybody with any level or measure of skill. But of course, again, we're kind of like handcuffing ourselves with subjective interpretations. I look at the thing and I say, he's a con artist. He's a con artist. He's a modern artist, con artist, modern con artist. Hey, call it that. Con modern artist? I don't know. He scammed $40 million out of somebody for these couple of paintings, which in materials, you're going to say a nice big canvas like that is going to be about $300, $400. So that's 2 times 2. So let's say he spent $800 on canvas. The oil paint, of course, because everybody thinks oil is the professional. I believe all art is. I mean, like, the best art can be made with watercolors, like my wife does, or colored pencils. She prefers those particular medium to get her message across. She is like, it's like one of these things that's beyond my comprehension because I'm not very good. I can barely do a stick figure, and then I look at something my wife does, and I'm just like, whoa. I'm like, get the fuck out of it. There's no way that I could ever do that. And, if it's something that I can't do that someone else can do, and, just easily, it feels like, there's very little effort because she's just so damn good, right? So I take a look at that, and I'm like, my God, I'm an idiot. I know nothing. And I look at that stuff. But then I look at Cy Twombly. Okay, let's get back to the $800 for the 2 canvases. I'm going to say the oil paints ran him a good $200, $300 based on how much was used. It doesn't look as though, I have to assume because, when my wife undertakes a project, she does something, she always leaves a bunch of older drafts of whatever she was working on. So she'll bust her balls, bust her ass. Working on my wife doesn't have balls. Well, she's got balls, but she doesn't have testicles. less I say, I better shut up. She leaves behind many different versions of what she was working on before she gets to finally that place where so she works on it, right? I don't think that Cy Twombly has like 15 paintings of this before he finally said, yes, settle on this. This is brilliant. Damn it. $40 million, all this work. I work so hard. He really does. Cy. Poor Cy. Poor Cy. No, so in the end, what are we looking at? $1,100, $1,200 in investment in materials, the raw materials necessary to make these things, and $40 million. He covered it. I really hope that Uncle Sam takes him to the cleaners and takes half of that and gives it to fucking children who are starving. I really do. I really do. It's the land of opportunity and everything. This is the greatest country in the universe, in the world, and everything. This grand experiment has proven to be successful more often than not in relation to its failures. And unfortunately, that yields a public, an army of consumers that all have disposable income and spend it on the stupidest things. I mean, really. I mean, anybody who spends $1,000 for an iPhone is kind of an idiot in my book anyway. You're breaking your brains. You're making it difficult for everyone else around you. Little things like that. But when it comes to the $40 million in art, I mean, okay. Now, there was another one that, again, subject to interpretation, subjective interpretation. I may think it's crap. I may think it's a scam to make money by pretending to be smarter than everybody else. But another person might be, oh my God, that's fucking brilliant. That's goddamn, take my fucking money. That is brilliant. Tracy Emin did a modern arts, I guess you want to call it a sculpture or something like that. It's not a painting. It's sort of a piece that you're supposed to look at and sort of reflect on, but don't sit on it. Oh my God. If you sit on it, it ceases to be art. It's called My Bed, right? My Bed. All right. Look this up. Look all these up. If you're listening to this show, look that up. Look up Mark Rothko so you can get like an idea of what his paintings look like. Don't just listen to me. Come on. I'm just shooting my mouth. These are opinions, but they are informed opinions because I understand the process, because I've watched my wife for years and I've watched other people who were. It seems like the people who really care about what they're doing do it just incessantly, and it becomes more than a hobby. It's like an obsession, And I mean, and I see the determination of my wife. She's trying to nail something, and she's trying to get it right. And then I look at other people who do the same. They would never. My wife would never take one of her like watercolors or colored pencil drawings, and I've had her do a lot of artwork for me, by the way. I know I can always rely on her to. I can't rely on, if I was related to Mark Rothko or Cy Twombly, I was like their little nephew or something like that. They'd be like, could you do some art for my podcast? They wouldn't do it. They don't know how to do that. They can't do that. They just sit there or stand there with their fucking weird apparatuses, doing enormous canvases of things that have no state, and they're not anything. I doubt Mark Rothko could draw anything other than that interpretation, that abstract or whatever. If I want a picture of Yoda, I'm not going to get it from Cy Twombly. He's going to do something insane that's not going to be Yoda. My wife does a Yoda. She drew a Yoda for me for a podcast we did. She's wonderful. So anyway, yeah, take a look at these pictures. Take a look at Cy Twombly's $40 million masterpiece. and also his other work, which is very, very similar. Very similar. Okay, and then look up Tracy Emin's My Bed, and you will see, looking at it, what it is a bed that's been slept in. It's unmade, sheets and blankets or whatever scattered on it, like somebody just got up. But around the bed, you find condoms, a big bottle of beer, an ashtray, little things like that, maybe some drug paraphernalia thrown in, maybe a couple of magazines. just sort of strewn along the bottom of the bed, like there was no end table, no nightstand, no coffee table or anything to retain those items, those articles. So she this is her sculpture. This is her sculpture. It's kind of a living. I wouldn't call it a sculpture, but a living snapshot of her life, I guess. Or is she trying to make a statement? It's an interesting statement, whatever it is. My bed. I've got beer. I've got condoms. I'm drinking. I'm having sex. I'm smoking. I'm possibly doing drugs. I'm reading all at the same time, and it's. I don't know if it really. I don't know if it really. I don't know if it really says anything. What's the message? It reminds me of a girl I knew a long time ago. I mean, like she was such a slob. She lived in a beautiful apartment in Manhattan on 33rd Street. Her parents were wealthy. She lived with her mom and her mom's boyfriend or something, and she had this, what could have been a beautiful bedroom, but she made such a mess of it. And it just, I mean, like everything about it was empties, drugs, drug paraphernalia, possibly condoms. I never really saw them around. And just absolute garbage and filth and everything. And it wasn't like she was poor. She wasn't. She was extremely privileged. But she chose to be very, very destructive about her life back then, and that's just sort of how she was. So Tracy, I have to say, Tracy Emin's bed is probably a very similar situation. I'm going to assume it's a very similar situation, unless she's making a comment on how hard it is for young women. I guess maybe living in a city. Anyway, $11 million. $11 million that was sold for. $11 million for an unmade bed. You have to have balls. You have to have, and like I said, you have to be completely serious. You have to be completely serious about this. Otherwise, no one's going to give you $11 million for an unmade bed with a bunch of garbage around it. You have to be completely serious. No one's going to buy it. No one's going to buy you unless you are completely serious about what you're selling, and you're selling a piece of your mind. Those people who are creative, who are genuinely creative in their lives, who are not being paid. And yes, there is a difference between the two. If you're being paid to be creative, you're not going to be terribly creative because it's a job. If it's a job, if it's a time clock, punch the card situation, you have to get up. And the thing is, a truly creative person can't really be creative like that. Like, you can't really point at somebody and go, be creative. You can't be a creative slave. Create a slave. You can't be like, yes, massa, I'll be creative. I take out the garbage creatively. What you do? You have no choice. You get up and you can't go to sleep. Get up at 4 a.m. in the morning because you have a thought running around the back of your head. I've had this many times. I've got a notebook, I had a notebook. Got up, wrote down ideas. Couldn't go to sleep until I fully explored those ideas and done everything I could to make it clear to myself. And hopefully I was writing in a coherent way that I could look at my notes the next day and say, okay, yeah, good idea, or okay, yeah, bad idea. But whatever, it's like it feels like a disease. I don't want to sound like a pretentious twat here, but being creative is like kind of having a cold or something like that. It's like it's a virus that takes you over. There's nothing you can do about it until you can, or maybe it's possession. Maybe it's like demonic possession, and you have to exercise it by doing something. You have to write a poem, write an essay, write a screenplay, write a novel, write a blog, do whatever. I mean, I try to keep myself active in that way. Okay, so $11 million for my bed. You think she's cashing her checks there? I really hope she is. Okay. Finally, interior semiotics. I think this was the subject of an article. I don't know where I came across this information. This artist Stoltz. It's a female, of course. Interior semiotics. It's a performance piece. It is usually done live, but there are videos of it. If you want to look at it, go ahead, but I really don't encourage you to do that. It's rather grotesque. But in the video, okay, the artist spends 2.5 minutes opening a can of SpaghettiOs, then pours them into a pan, and adds water and dirt. And the boiler clicks on while reciting a poem. Dirt is all around us. Everything is shit. We apply meaning, value, and worth to the shit surrounding us. We live by this meaning and by our words. We live by worth and apply value, but everything is shit. She then proceeds to rub the SpaghettiOs on her shirt while reciting the poem in reverse. I don't know what that means. I'm going to try that as an experiment. I will now... I don't know. I don't know if she's saying the words in reverse or the entire phonetic pronunciation of the words in reverse. So, just for the hell of it, I'm going to read it in reverse with help of my effects filters. Here we go. We have out when throw out value, stir where out nothing in him without value. Sung in my wrist, the throat that we have in him mouth, that singeth your vet, sudden I realize it. Okay, if you got all that, that's great. Otherwise, it would be shit is everything, but value apply and worth by live we words are by and meaning this by live we us surrounding shit to the worth and value meaning apply we shit is everything. Us around all is dirt. Which, I that's kind of profound, actually, if you think about it. You kind of run those words together. Shit is everything. Everything is shit. I like that. That's nice. That's good. There might be a message in there. Okay, but, unfortunately, she continues. So, like we said, she puts the SpaghettiOs on her shirt while reciting the poem in reverse, cuts open her leggings, and inserts her SpaghettiO-covered fingers into her vagina. The performance ends with her urinating into the empty can of SpaghettiOs. And then taking off her shirt to wipe the remains of her performance. See, this is performance art. Performance art is, like, again, you know, it's all subjective interpretation, but you, again, these are the rules. You have to be completely serious about what you're doing. You have to be completely serious. If you're not, people are not going to buy it. This artist would be laughed off the stage if she cracked one smile, if she tried to act like, hey, you know, stand-up comedian or something. Like maybe a little Jay Leno, you know, kind of talking like this. You know, everything is shit. Or Seinfeld. Did you ever notice that everything is shit and shit is everything? Or one of these other guys who grabs the mic and just went to the doctor's today, 11 a.m. an appointment, and I had to wait an hour, and they didn't even give me the form to fill out. Finally, at the end, 15 minutes, and everything is shit, and shit is everything. So. The last section of this, I guess I just want to say, you get lots of speeches, lots of pep talks about following your dreams and honing your craft, and people beat you over the head with this kind of stuff. It's like motivational crap. My God, motivational crap. And eventually, you'll become a success if you do that. You have to pay your dues, and through diligence, tenacity, and inspiration, you will live those dreams. And then you read stories like these. You read about Tracy Emin's bed. You read about Cy Twombly and his $40 million. Mark Rothko for his $86.9 million. And then interior semiotics. What are semiotics? It sounds like some kind of like medication or something. I'm on semiotics. Or maybe a little bit of Dianetics. Oh, did you read Semiotics Volume 4? What level are you? Well, I'm level 7. I'm an operating thetan. So, if we're living in a crazy, crazy world, to quote Mark in The Room, people are strange these days. And so, $40 million, 86.9. If it wasn't so pathetic, I couldn't tell you. I want to laugh and I want to cry at the same time. I don't expect to ever earn that kind of money. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I have maybe if you are of the creative mind and you just like shit creativity 24 hours a day, it has less value for you. So you can't really put a dollar value on it. But if you feel like everything you're saying is profound, your message, your meaning, whatever it might be, you're going to think that you're worth $40 million. You're going to think you're worth $87 million. I don't think that's ever going to happen with me. Have a good night.